She is Steph Curry, but with a Michael Jordan mindset. All business, all basketball. Has no opinion or comment on the controversy. Colin Cowherd argues the WNBA needs to embrace Caitlin Clark while the league is surrounded by controversy.
That comparison sounds almost ridiculous until you look at what Colin Cowherd is actually pointing to. He is not saying Caitlin Clark plays exactly like either one of them. He is saying the combination of range, obsession, and refusal to get dragged into every controversy has become the story around her.
The WNBA is dealing with a lot of controversy and a lot of social conversation, and Enes, Kanter, and Royce White, former NBA guys, are trolling, and I do think the league could use better leadership. It feels like they're always reacting instead of proactive, but it's interesting. There is a singular reason that the league is now in a much better spot financially, and that reason is Caitlin Clark, who had...
Yep. Ain't no argument out of me.
And that is where this gets bigger than another debate about whether Clark is the best guard in the WNBA. Cowherd's real accusation is aimed upstairs. His argument is that the league has been handed one of the clearest growth engines in modern American sports. Yet too often it looks reactive, uncomfortable, and strangely hesitant to build around the thing fans are already telling them they want. There is a difference between manufacturing hype and recognizing organic demand. The Fever do not need a fake storyline invented for them. Clark does not need a reality show feud. The audience is already there because the basketball itself keeps producing moments that people want to talk about. The question is whether the WNBA understands that fast enough. And keep one part of Cowherd's argument in the back of your mind, because later it becomes the most important piece of this entire discussion. He is not simply praising Clark for being popular. He is praising the way she handled
Clark. She's the reason for the season train.
37 points and 10 assists over the weekend. By the way, she has more games with 30 points plus and 10 assists plus than the entire league ever. She's got 5.
Than the entire league combined. Than the entire league combined in the history of the league. Crazy work.
The rest of the league in its history has...
That stat is the perfect reason this conversation cannot be reduced to culture war noise. In the source discussion, Clark is credited with a 37-point 10-assist performance and with piling up a type of scoring and playmaking game at a rate the league had almost never seen before. Whether you love the comparisons or hate them, production like that forces attention. That is also why the "she is only famous because of hype" argument keeps getting harder to sustain. Hype can get somebody through the door. It can sell the first ticket, create the first television window, and make people curious. But it cannot keep producing elite box scores for you. It cannot run an offense. It cannot read a second defender, manipulate a screen, hit a roller, relocate behind the arc, and then punish the next coverage. The strongest
4.
Wow.
She is Steph Curry, but with kind of a Michael Jordan mindset. All business, all basketball, has no opinion or comment on the controversies. The Fever offense...
And while to Caitlin Clark's credit, while the other... See, Caitlin Clark, I'm sure she's on Twitter. She just holds back from engaging.
Now we get to the Michael Jordan half of Cowherd's comparison. And this is where people can misunderstand him if they only hear the headline. He is not comparing careers. He is talking about disposition. Clark has become the center of arguments she often did not start. Every hard foul gets dissected. Every whistle becomes evidence for one side or the other. Every television panel has a theory about what her success supposedly represents. Yet publicly, she usually pulls the conversation back toward basketball. That matters because controversy has a way of consuming the person standing in the middle of it. The easiest thing in the world would be to respond to every post, every slight, every television segment, every opposing player, and every anonymous account trying to bait her. But then the story stops being what you do on the floor and becomes what you said at 11:47 at night on social media. Clark's restraint protects the product. More importantly, it protects her leverage. When your game is doing the talking, everybody else is forced to argue around the evidence.
Angel Reese always posting on Twitter. Dejanay Carrington always posting on Threads. Natasha Cloud on Threads. Brianna Turner going into back and forths. De'Erica Hamby just said, if somebody punches my daughter, I'm doing them much worse. In a league where players just seem not be able to help themselves, going on Twitter and Instagram and begging for attention, begging to be noticed, Caitlin Clark doesn't do that.
The source video makes the contrast aggressively. It points to other WNBA players posting, arguing, reacting, and getting pulled into online battles, while Clark is framed as the player who refuses to make social media the center of her identity. There is a fair counterpoint here. Players are people, not marketing departments. They are allowed to have opinions, defend themselves, and talk about issues that matter to them. Nobody should have to become silent just because a league wants clean headlines. But there is also a competitive advantage in selective silence. Every athlete eventually learns that attention is a resource. You can spend it answering people who dislike you, or you can make them spend their attention watching you perform. Clark has mostly chosen the second path. That does not mean she has no opinions. It means the public does not get unlimited access to them. That distinction is a huge part of why the comparison to older megastars resonates. The mystique grows when the athlete is visible everywhere in competition.
Is not only number one in this league at 97 a game, it's the best offense in league history because of Caitlin Clark. So with all this drama and nonsense around her, Caitlin Clark, number one in assists, number three in scoring, best offense in league history, greatest shooting range in league history. She's not driving the controversy. Like Michael Jordan, she's all business. And ask yourself.
And now the basketball case starts to connect with the business case. The source discussion credits Indiana with a historically productive offense and places Clark near the top of multiple major categories. That is exactly what the league should want from its most visible player. Fame tied directly to winning basketball. Creation, pace, passing, and spectacular shot-making. Think about what makes a sports star commercially powerful. It is not simply that people know the name. The name has to become shorthand for an experience. Steph Curry eventually meant impossible threes, movement, chaos, and a style that kids wanted to imitate. Michael Jordan meant elevation, competitiveness, inevitability, and the biggest moment finding him. Tiger Woods meant a Sunday leaderboard suddenly feeling like an event. Clark is building her own version of that. Deep pull-up threes are part of it, but the passing may be even more important. A player who can create for herself attracts highlights. A player who can also create for four teammates changes the entire ecosystem around her. That is why Cowherd's argument toward the league is sharper than it first sounds. If one player is helping create a recognizable style of basketball and bringing in people who previously did not watch, the job is not to apologize for that imbalance. The job is to convert new viewers into fans of the entire competition.
Is the controversy bad? I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's terrible. Okay. Well, if you want to climb Everest, there's going to be some storms at the top. The path to growth is always through discomfort. When did the UFC explode? Conor McGregor. They have squeezed every ounce of sweat out of his career.
Yes, that's what.
Cowherd then flips the controversy question on its head. His point is that growth and discomfort often arrive together. New audiences bring new arguments. Bigger ratings bring harsher scrutiny. More money brings more pressure. When a sport moves from a smaller dedicated audience into mainstream daily conversation, the tone changes because the stakes change. But there is an important line here. Controversy can amplify a sport. Dysfunction can damage it. Those are not the same thing. A rivalry where two stars genuinely dislike losing to each other can be great television. A debate about who deserves an award can be great television. Fans arguing about officiating, legacy, coaching, style, or physicality can all deepen investment because those arguments begin with the game. Leadership problems are different. If viewers start believing nobody understands the rules, nobody knows what the league is selling, and the people in charge are always reacting after the fire has already started, then controversy stops adding flavor and starts eroding trust. That is the part the WNBA has to solve. It does not need to eliminate disagreement. It needs to make sure the disagreement keeps pointing people back toward the basketball instead of away from it.
Some of it ugly follows him everywhere.
Well, the ugly controversies around McGregor didn't help the UFC. That Khabib fight was going to be big whether he threw a dolly at the truck or not. It was him talking hella shit, backing it up, knocking out Aldo in 9 seconds, and then off to the races we are. Floyd Mayweather, off to the races we are.
The Conor McGregor example is useful precisely because it shows the limit of the all controversy is good theory. McGregor became enormous because he combined personality with performance. The trash talk worked because there was a fight coming. And for a long stretch, he kept giving people a reason to believe the show would have a payoff. Once the spectacle becomes larger than the sport itself, though, the relationship can reverse. The league or promotion starts chasing the drama instead of using the drama to make the competition feel bigger. That is why Clark's current approach is so valuable. She creates tension without needing to manufacture it. Defenders pick her up early because of her range. Crowds react before she even touches the ball. Road arenas change their energy when Indiana arrives. Every opponent understands that beating the Fever with Clark on the floor carries extra attention. That is organic stakes. You cannot fake that. And there is another advantage for the WNBA. Clark's appeal does not require her opponent to play a villain. The league does not have to reduce Angel Reese, Paige Buckers, Aisha Wilson, or anybody else into a cartoon character to make Clark interesting. Great sports grow when stars have distinct identities, and people want to see those identities.
Yeah. Golden State. Stacked roster. Last dynasty. Adam Silver didn't like it at all. Literally changed the CBA. Patriots, Spygate, Deflategate. Dodgers dynasty, unfair, stacked, deferred payments.
And all those teams have top players of all time on their team.
This is where Cowherd's tour through other sports starts making more sense. Dynasties, scandals, salary debates, rule changes, accusations of unfairness, and endless arguments about competitive balance did not make fans stop watching the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, or college sports. In many cases, those arguments became part of the weekly ritual. But the common denominator was always a strong underlying product. Tom Brady could be surrounded by a week of debate and then Sunday still had to deliver football. Steph Curry could be accused of benefiting from a loaded roster, but he still had to make the shots. Shohei Ohtani could become the face of a spending conversation, but the audience ultimately returns because he does things on a baseball field that feel extraordinary. That is the standard the WNBA should use. Do not ask whether people are arguing. Ask whether the argument ends with people wanting to watch the next game. If the answer is yes, you have heat. If the answer is no, you have noise. Clark gives the league an unusual opportunity because so much of the heat around her does end with people checking the schedule. They want to see whether she can back it up, whether somebody can stop her, whether Indiana can keep scoring, whether the next matchup gets physical, and whether the latest comparison survives another night.
Shohei with the Dodgers.
College football and basketball ratings up, up, up last 3-4 years with NIL, transfer portal, the entire time, the entire off seasons. Shrouded, clouded in controversy. Now you got NFL guys going to college and the ratings are going up. Sometimes to get distracted people focused, gotta shake things up a little bit. I mean, American Idol is the highest rated music show ever. It's the one that had a really controversial guy on the panel.
Cowherd's broader point is that sports have never needed universal approval to grow. In fact, mass popularity usually guarantees the opposite. Once millions of new people arrive, the audience becomes impossible to control. Some fans are serious. Some are tribal, some are informed, some are there because a single player dragged them in. Some will love the league, some will spend every night criticizing it. That is not necessarily a crisis. It is what scale looks like. The danger comes when an organization mistakes criticism for rejection. A growing league is going to be criticized more than a smaller league, because more people are paying attention. That can feel hostile from inside the building, especially if the WNBA spent years fighting for coverage, and now discovers that mainstream coverage is not always flattering. But wanting attention and wanting only positive attention are two different things. No major sports property gets both. This is why leadership has to become more confident. Explain decisions clearly. Promote the biggest games without acting embarrassed by star power. Make officiating standards understandable. Celebrate great performances regardless of which fan base gets angry. And when a controversy is not basketball related, resist the instinct to let it dominate every communication channel. You cannot control the audience anymore. You can control whether the product looks prepared for the audience.
It is. CC in the WNBA is like watching Tiger enter the PGA or Serena enter tennis, but in this case, since women have so many different nuances in how to cover their sports, there's nothing like the discourse around CC. It's wild to witness. Very, very point. She is statistically having the greatest season by a point guard in WNBA history, while leading the best offensive team in league history. Despite having a middle-of-the-road coach, Steph is a defensive-minded coach. She does not understand modern.
Now we reach the payoff. Cowherd was building toward. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon is not unusual because sports have never seen a transformational star. We have. Tiger Woods changed golf audiences. Serena Williams became bigger than tennis in many cultural moments. Michael Jordan globalized the image of an NBA superstar. Steph Curry changed what young players considered a normal shot. What is unusual is the speed and the environment around Clark. She entered a league that already had elite players, champions, Olympians, and established fan bases. But the commercial attention around the sport accelerated so violently that almost every existing debate became attached to her. That creates resentment, defensiveness, and suspicion. Longtime supporters can feel like the history before Clark is being erased. Players who built the league can reasonably want their accomplishments respected. New fans can look at the sudden spike in visibility and conclude that the league should revolve around the person who brought them in. Those groups are not starting from the same emotional place. The league's mistake would be choosing one group and insulting the other. The smart move is to connect them. Use Clark as the doorway, not the entire house. When somebody tunes in for her, show them why Aja Wilson is terrifying. Show them why a veteran guard can control a fourth quarter. Show them a rookie matchup worth remembering. Show them coaching adjustments, rivalries, playoff stakes, and personalities they did not know before. That is how one superstar becomes an industry-wide gain instead of an industry-wide argument.
Colin's right on this one. Caitlin Clark is all basketball, no sideshows. In the league that keeps finding new ways to step on rakes, she's the one person who just shows up and plays. That's exactly what they should be selling. She's John Stockton with a three-point shot minus the steals. With the looks, no, good. Damn, LP. Now, in terms of comparisons, I've always said that she's Steve Nash if he was aggressive. She's Steve Nash if Steve Nash also had some I'm gonna hunt my shot in him.
And this is the part that should bother the league if Cowherd is even half right. Clark is already doing the hardest part for them. She is giving the audience a clean sporting proposition. Watch me play. No complicated explanation. No requirement that a casual fan understand years of league politics before enjoying the game. No demand that everybody agree on what she symbolizes. She takes the floor, pushes the pace, hunts space, throws passes most players will not attempt, and creates the possibility that something ridiculous could happen on the next possession. That simplicity is priceless. The source host prefers a different comparison. He says Clark looks more like an aggressive Steve Nash. The vision and manipulation of a point guard who wants to set up teammates, but with a stronger instinct to hunt her own shot. That comparison may actually tell us more about why Indiana can become so difficult to guard. A defense cannot commit only to stopping the scorer because the passer is reading the same commitment. If you blitz high, the ball can come out early. If you switch lazily, she can attack the mismatch. If you go under, she has range. If you load two defenders toward her, somebody else is playing 4-on-3 behind the action. The star's value is not only the points she scores, it is the defensive attention she forces everybody else to process. That is where the Steph Curry comparison earns some credibility too. Curry's greatest effect was never captured by a box score alone. His gravity changed where defenders stood. Clark's range and passing create a similar strategic problem, even if the players, leagues, and accomplishments are obviously different. And the Michael Jordan part is not about claiming Clark has Jordan's resume. It is about understanding why Cowherd keeps returning to the same word: business. The most valuable thing Clark can do right now is keep forcing the conversation back to the game. Because the more chaotic the environment becomes, the more powerful that contrast becomes. Everybody else can debate whether the WNBA promotes her enough. Everybody else can fight over television coverage, officiating, social media, politics, race, identity, resentment, old fans versus new fans, and who deserves credit for the league's growth. Clark can keep creating a simpler question. Did you see what happened on the court? That is the question a sports league should want. Because eventually the novelty phase ends. The first-time viewer is no longer a first-time viewer. The viral clip is no longer enough. The league has to turn curiosity into habit. Habit comes from schedules people remember, rivalries they care about, players they recognize, games that feel consequential, and stars who make you believe missing one night might mean missing something special. Clark can be the ignition, but the WNBA has to build the engine around that ignition. That means smarter promotion, clearer leadership, stronger storytelling, and enough confidence to let basketball remain at the center even when the surrounding conversation gets messy. So when Cowherd calls her Steph Curry with a Michael Jordan mindset, the headline is fun. But the real message is much more serious. He is saying the league has a rare kind of superstar, one whose style is instantly marketable, whose production gives the hype credibility, and whose public discipline keeps returning attention to the product. The WNBA does not have to make every fan love Caitlin Clark. That is impossible and probably undesirable. Sports are better when people disagree. What it cannot afford to do is make fans wonder whether the league itself understands the value of having a player who can make strangers care about a random regular season night. So which side are you on? Is Cowherd right that Caitlin Clark is the obvious centerpiece the WNBA should embrace more aggressively, or is the league right to resist becoming too dependent on one star? Tell me where you land in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns like this, like the video and subscribe.